just getting to know you much better and understand this incredible military leader. What was the job interview like for Supreme Allied Commander? Because I've heard incredible stories over time from the chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff, from the vice chairman to the chief of the Air Force, to all different types of individuals, from walking into the Oval Office to others. And it's fascinating. Please take us into what is one of the most interesting interviews.
Sure. Are we off the record?
Yes, we're completely off the record.
When I was a 4-star admiral, I finished my first 4-star job, which was a wonderful job, Joe. This was before NATO. I was the commander of what's called U.S. Southern Command, which is everything, all the military activities south of the United States. My headquarters was in Miami, Florida, which is pretty terrific, and I'm from South Florida, so I had a wonderful tour there from 2006 to 2009, and I decided that would be the end of my career. So I went to my then boss, Secretary Robert Gates, and I said, Mr. Secretary, I'm going to get out of the military. I'd like to withdraw from consideration for any further jobs. And he said, no, Stavridis, you're really not that bad. We might want to keep you for another job. Why don't you just, sit tight? And I said, no, I really want to conclude my service. And I had the idea, Joe, of becoming the dean of the School of Oceanography at the University of Miami. So I had a wonderful job, a very maritime-oriented job. I was all set. I'd done at that point 33 years. I felt I'd done my time. So I kept telling Secretary Gates, I don't want another job. And Secretary Gates said, well, we might want you to go to the Pacific and be the Pacific commander. So we had a conversation about it, and I kept saying, yeah, I really don't want to do that. Thank you. It's very flattering. And then he called me up to Washington, and he sat me down, and he said, we're not going to send you to the Pacific. We're going to send you to NATO. And I said, I can't even spell NATO. I'm a Navy officer. Navy officers go to the Pacific. There had never been an admiral in command of NATO. And he said, well, here's why I want you to do it. And I said, I really don't want to do it, Mr. Secretary. And he said, okay, Jim, I get it. You don't want to do it. And he said, do me a favor. Would you go to see the president and just convey to the president that you really don't want to do this? So I kind of thought about it, and I said, okay, I will. I'm going to go over to the Oval Office, and I'm going to tell President Obama, no, I don't want to do this. So that's kind of what I had in my head. And I got over there, and I was very nervous, and I was sitting in the outer office to the Oval Office, and the door opened, and I walked in. And President Obama got up, and he said, Jim, I want to thank you for agreeing to become the NATO I said, thank you, Mr. President. I'm really honored to do this. So it was like the shortest interview in history.
So Marlon Brando, an offer you couldn't refuse.
No, this is Bob Gates.
I know.
This is Bob Gates, who is the most clever man I know and is the best leader I know.
So I'm going to test you on this because I'm interviewing Bob Gates shortly, and I'm going to find out the other half of the story, which I know your side is the true side of the story.